What if I told you that you can write an if statement like this in just one line? Well, that's what we're going to be doing in this video, and you're going to witness the beauty of Python programming. We know how to use standard if statements in Python. You first start with the keyword if and the condition you want to test. To show you an example of this, we're going to be making a simple project called positive negative, and we're going to be testing if a user's input is positive or negative. To start, we can create a variable called user input and set it equal to the int of an input function called what is the number. We're going to test if the user's input is greater than 0, so we can say if user input is greater than 0. We know that it's positive, so we're going to print positive. Next, what if the user's input is less than 0? So if user's input is less than 0, we automatically know that it has to be a negative number, so we print negative. But what if the user gives us 0 as a number? Well, we know that 0 is a neutral number, so we're going to print neutral. 0 is the only neutral number. Now let's hit run. Now obviously, let's say our number is 45. This is positive. We know that this is a positive number, which shows us that our program is working. This style of if statements is widely used around the world by Python programmers. It's the most common way of writing if statements in Python. But how can we fit this into just one line? Well, there's a specific formula to writing if, elif, and else statements in one line. To begin, let's comment out this part of our code because we'll refer back to it, and let's create our multi-liner if statement. Now to begin, we first start with what we want to do, which is to print positive if the user input was greater than 0. So this basically would print positive if the user input is 0. Now you may notice there's a red line down here. That indicates that Python is expecting an else statement after this. So we will write else. This is our elif part down here, so this is what we're trying to write over here. We say else print negative only if the user input was less than 0. So this would print negative if the user input was less than 0. So you can't just write elif like this and then just ignore that part, because this would create an error in Python. So you have to say else if, or let me say else if. Now let's write this part of our code, else print neutral. So if they type 0, we know that the number we're going to print is neutral, because 0 is a neutral number. So let's hit run and see if this behaves the same way our standard if statement did. So let's say 45, it says positive. Let's rerun it again and type 0 to see if it prints out neutral. 0, neutral. So this one-liner behaves the same way as our previous multi-liner standard if statement. The only difference is that we fit all of this into this one single line. And the one-line if statement is kind of complex to understand because we've got many variables going on. But to explain it one more time, you start with what you want to do first. So we wanted to print positive if the user input was greater than 0. But elif the user input was less than 0, we printed negative. Everything else we would print neutral. So this is the basic idea behind one-line if statement. But you may ask, why would you need to use these one-line Python if statements? Well, if you use one-line if statements, you can impress your friends and your employers. You can also have some extra space in your code. Both the standard if statement and one-line if statements do the same job. The difference is that the one-line if statement is more readable. Unlike other programming languages, Python has readable code that is easy for beginners to understand. Python uses a language that is closest to the English language. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new. Hit subscribe for more videos like this one, and I hope to see you next time.